Welcome, everyone. I'm Kimberly Boschman, and this is the Intentionally Intuitive podcast. In this episode, we're going to take a look at the numerology and the energy for both the collective and each individual life path number for August 2022. So before we get into the forecast, I just want to, of course, mention that this is a general reading. So if you would like to sort of dive more deeply into your own personal energies, because they may be very different from sort of what we're looking at collectively or what you're even looking at from a collective life path energy, then please book some time with me. I do offer month ahead forecast, personal month ahead forecast, as well as year ahead forecasts, which again are tuned into your personal numerology and your personal energies. And then, of course, I also offer coaching with numerology, your numerology reports. There's a whole plethora of offerings on my website. So if you're interested in working with me and again, diving deeper into your own numerology and personal energies, then book some time with me. I would love to work with you. Okay, so August 2022, we are working with a 14-5 energy. Now, those of us who have a lot of sort of predominant 5 energies throughout our reports, throughout our charts, this is sort of going to be more, it's just going to be more of what we're sort of used to. We're very familiar with this energy, so we can kind of adapt to it and move with the punches. But it's still going to be important to understand that we're getting a heavy dose of this month. And so just to be prepared and so to be able to work with it to the best of our abilities. Those of you who don't have a lot of 5s within your chart, this can be, sometimes 5 energy can be it can feel a little disruptive. It can feel very transformative. It can feel as if sort of the rug gets pulled out from underneath you. But it can also sort of bring more spice into your life. It can bring about this desire for freedom, to break free, to move beyond the restrictions, to travel, to explore. It's a very big, fast-moving energy. So it can be a lot to sort of wrap your head around and your energy around if you're not used to working with it. So, but it is very much working for us as opposed to against us. A lot of times with 5 energy, it tries to move us abruptly sometimes to where it is that we need to be on our journey. So if we've got distracted or we're procrastinating, the 5 energy is so good about sort of coming in like this big gust of wind to lift us up and put the wind in our sails to get us moving again. So it is very, very positive energy, but it can be a lot to work with. So let's look at the forecast. So this can be a cycle when we are forced to sort of see things from a new perspective, because we're not only working with the 5 energy, we're working with the influencing energy of the 14. So this is also, I've sort of marinated that into this forecast as well. So we can be kind of asked to see things from a new perspective through new clarity coming in or new experiences that help us to better understand a situation. So these new experiences may have us reviewing past behavior to see if there's things that we want to approach differently. This is very powerful energy. So this cycle can highlight areas where we may need to choose to modify our lifestyle in some way to get different results than what we have been seeing. There's a lot of sort of personal responsibility that's sort of, again, included in this energy, right? So this is big, explosive, and expansive energy, and desires that we didn't even know that we had can surface now. The more that we can sort of ground ourselves and keep checking in with the reality of the situation, that's really, really important to remember, like to keep checking in with the reality, because 5 energy can have you thinking about, dreaming really big and using that big imagination and going after those big goals, which is great. But we can often lose sight of the reality of the situation and what we're actually working with. And so it's important to keep coming back to that. I kind of sometimes think of 5 energy as being very similar to like Uranus energy in astrology. It's got a lot of the same kind of dynamic influences. So anyway, so again, the more that we can ground ourselves and keep checking in with the reality of the situation, the less likely we are to sort of get swept up into something that's not truly aligned with us and our goals. So pay attention to, again, like what comes in for you this month. Not to say that new relationships that come in this month or that sort of get springboarded this month won't last. It's very possible that they could, and it could be that this energy is coming in to sort of facilitate that. But it's also possible that we're putting on 6 layers of rose-colored glasses and sort of getting enamored with maybe somebody or something that's not necessarily the best long-term fit. So just kind of keep that in mind. And that's what I say, keep coming back to the reality of the situation, right? Try to find a way to marry both those that more idealistic viewpoint and the reality, and then you'll have like a healthy balance. So this can be incredibly creative energy. So this can be a very creative period where sort of we move the magic of the imagination into something more tangible within the physical reality. So this is very supportive energy for unconventional thinking and creating as far outside of the box as your imagination wants to take you. So play in the realm of creativity as much as possible, while also keeping yourself grounded as much as possible. So again, you're finding the balance between the two and having them work together with synastry, right? Like this can be such an incredibly powerful, creative period if we work with the energy in a very balanced way. So moderation, as I always say with 5 energy, is going to be key for the best results, right? For the most beneficial results of this energy. This can also be a profitable time for commercial, sort of seeing more money and business dealings. So anything that you have to do, like any kind of interaction or any kind of, just any kind of interaction that you have or transaction that you have that's commercial, around money, around business dealings, can be very profitable at this time. Just make sure that you're slowing down and paying attention to all of the details and the possible outcomes or scenarios before fully committing or signing your name to anything. And so I want to repeat that because I think it's really, really important, especially when we're working with 5 energy, because we don't have like any kind of 4 energy here, although we might have some through the illuminations of the full moon or the new moon. I can't remember. But 4 energy is like the details. 5 energy is just, let's go. It's so big and expansive that a lot of times it can lose sight of those details, right? The finer print. So again, slow down, pay attention to all of the details and the possible outcomes or scenarios before fully committing or signing your name to anything. So again, it's not like you want to be the Debbie Downer or, be pessimistic or whatever. It's again, bringing that realism into the situation to be like, okay, this is the risk. This is what could potentially come from that risk. This is the potential outcomes. And this is the scenarios that I could be facing if I take this risk. Is it worth that to me? Right. So there just needs to be kind of this, in the midst of all of this big energy, these periods of checking in and making sure that, the route that you're taking or the risks that you're taking are what you want to be taking, or that you're open to, that you're okay. You've explored the possible outcomes and you're okay with those. You might not want to have to deal with those possible outcomes, but you've evaluated them and you can work with them, right? 14-5 energy can bring big hopes and huge aspirations that make it really easy to sort of disregard or overlook possible catastrophic outcomes. And so that's what I mean. It's like, yes, take a risk, but be sure you're well aware of what the potential risks are before saying yes. And of course, it's life, so we don't always know everything that could possibly happen. I think that's implied, right? But it's about doing your best to try to do the research, just to make sure that you have an understanding of what could potentially go wrong, and are you able to work with that, right? If that were to happen, if the worst case scenario were to occur, can you handle that? Can you work with that? If the risk is too great, then you may want to modify it. So modify the situation, modify the opportunity, modify whatever you need to modify, so that if things do go sideways, then you can somewhat easily dust yourself off and start over without too much devastation, right? You don't want to do anything that if things go sideways, it's going to set you back so far that you're now digging yourself out of a hole to try to recover. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like, just keep your head about you and just be mindful, right? Just do the research. Just make sure that you're fully educated and fully aware of the potentiality of what could come from these big risks. But don't let that scare you. Like if you do the research and you say, okay, you know what, this is the risk. Yeah, it would suck, but I am fully capable of overcoming it, whatever. It might be a little bit of a setback, but it's not going to devastate me or my family. Go for it, right? Because it's not meant to put fear in you to not do the things that your soul wants to do. It's just to be well educated to make sure that you're not setting yourself up for potential failure, right? Because it also, things with big risks, right? Things with the potential for a big risk, right? Also have the potential for not only like big devastation, but big wins, right? And so you just have to look at it for your own situation and see, what are you willing to say yes to? What are you willing to work with if it goes sideways? So competitive situations can also surface under this energy. So if that happens, try to keep those interactions light and playful. That's going to be really, really important, because otherwise you're inviting in conflict and chaos that can arise very quickly and unnecessarily. So choose how you participate, as always, with this energy. And as always, moderation is going to be key. The more that you can bring in moderation, continue to find your balance, continue to remain centered, then you are going to benefit from this energy in spades. I mean, there's just so much potential here to really flourish under this energy, but just remain as grounded as possible as you play in this 5 energy. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at each individual life path number now. Life path number 1. So I pulled an animal spirit message for you all for August, and you got owl spirit. So there's a lot that kind of comes in for owl energy. Of course, you think about their observation skills, right? Like owl is very wise. It takes a look at the bigger picture before it goes in for the kill, so to speak. It is going to evaluate the situation, gain clarity over the situation, and then take action. So it's not this like rushed thing typically, right? I mean, not saying it's not ever, but there's a lot of observation. There's a lot of seeing the bigger picture. There's also, with owls, they do most of their hunting, most of their sort of their excursions and living, right, at night when it's the darkest, when most of us can't see very clearly. So they're able to see through the illusion. They're able to see through the darkness, right? And so I do feel like for you all, Owl's message is bringing in this awareness of some kind of clarity coming in for you, some kind of maybe secrets being unveiled, what is it called? Uncovered, right? Secrets coming to the surface with much more clarity and understanding on your part. So maybe if there was some areas within your life where you just couldn't see things very clearly, it was almost like you could feel it. You knew there was something deeper to whatever this was, but you didn't know what it was. It's kind of like those veils maybe lifted at this time, and you'll be able to see much more clearly. There's also something here around attentiveness and really being, again, just very like paying attention to the details, not getting too swept up in the bigger picture or in the bigger goals, that sort of thing, but bringing it back down to something that's manageable, bringing it back down to to the present moment, to what you're actually working with, and then moving from that space, because that is manageable. When we get caught up in the future or the past, that is not manageable because it's not real. It's not something that we can even work with, right? It's just sort of, again, more of an illusion. So there is a lot here with owl spirit coming through to really keep coming back to the present moment, to tap into your inner knowing, to use your wisdom, and to use the reality of the situation to your advantage, to understand what is happening and to make your decisions from sort of all of those aspects, right? So taking it all in, seeing beyond the illusions, and breaking it down or bringing it down to something much more manageable, right? Okay, so for you all ones, you are not only working with the energy of the 5, but there is an undercurrent for you all of the energy of the 6. So for you all for August, there could be a heavy focus on change, shifts, transformation with the home or relationships that are closest to you. So like family, friends, very close friends, romantic partners, parents, siblings, that sort of thing. So relationships that are very, very close to your heart, or quite literally in your home, right? So just pay attention to what comes to the surface around home. It could be as simple as, oh, you know what? I want to buy new furniture. And then you go out and you buy new furniture and you feel much more happy with the space. Or it could be people moving in or out of your home. So if you have children that are graduating or moving on to college or something like that, it could be that you're sort of moving through those emotions, right? Like maybe you're becoming an empty nester or something like that. Or maybe you have a little bit of worry or fear around, your kid being out into the big wide world in college, and just normal, typical stuff that comes through when our family, when there's major changes in our family dynamic. And so that could be something that comes in for you. It could be something around relationships. Again, maybe something that you've been brushing under the surface that needs to be addressed. It could be about setting healthy boundaries. It could be about finding your voice and speaking your voice, using that voice to speak about what you need from a relationship, from a family member. It could be healing some kind of past trauma around the home, family, relationships. Anything like that can come up. Of course, it's a general reading. So just kind of keep that in mind, that's sort of where the focus is going to be for you all with this energy, is more around the home. So changes, transformation, shifts, that sort of thing. But of course, it's nothing to fear. Anything that is brought to the surface now, or anything that you're being asked to move through, is helping you to move into the next experience, right? Into to level up or to move along on your journey. So it's all beneficial. But that's kind of where the focus could be for you all. And so with owl energy coming through also, you may find that you need to pay closer attention to the details around home. There could be things that come up that maybe, again, your partner or somebody else your kid has been sort of sweeping under the rug because they've been afraid to talk about it or bring it to your attention or whatever. And so again, it could just be like, the energy is ripe to allow for healthy communication and setting healthy boundaries and that sort of thing. And so it can be very beautiful in that sense. So again, bring it back to the present, see what you're working with, because that is manageable. There can also be this energy or highlighting energy around finances, but finances that, again, affect the home in some way. So including like shifts or changes to income. You may move, or people may, again, move in or out type thing. But when it comes to the income, so again, maybe you have like a kid who's going to college, and so you have those, and they're moving out, right? And you have those expenses on your mind. So that could affect your finances to do with your family type thing. Or maybe you or your spouse change jobs or whatever. There's a million different things that could come up, but there is the potential for there to be some kind of shift or change or transformation in income. And so just kind of be aware of that. Just try to keep your finger on the pulse so you know sort of what's going on with your finances and how best to manage that. The other thing is like community involvement. You may see like a surge in the need or the desire to be more active in your community in some way, to get yourself out there, to interact in some way, to nurture others in a bigger way outside of your closer family dynamic. That could come in very strongly as well. So overall, I would just say pay attention to what comes up for you all this month around the home. Pay attention to what comes up for you around, again, like seeing through the illusions and working with whatever clarity comes in for you and bringing it back down again to the present moment. That's going to be much more manageable. I hope this was helpful, ones. Take care. Bye for now.